Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go. Yeah.
Undefeated. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day for Friday, March 28th, 2025. Undefeated. How good do we all feel? Well, 8 of you who are feeling we won opening day. We're going to go 162-0. Adley's going to hit 324 home runs. Every single year, we talk about the same thing. Morning one after opening day. Please, for me, as a favor, do not be overly despondent or overly unduly excited because of the opening day result. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy the fact as an Astros fan that Framber Valdez gives you 7 innings. Enjoy the fact as an Astros fan that Juan Soto did not get the job done for the Mets at the end of the game and that Josh Hader did. The Mets-Astros game to me was a fascinating example of why opening day is not something that you need to have as your North Star for an entire season. Because I assure you that come the middle of June, if I ask you what happened in the final inning of the first game of the season, you won't be able to tell me who the Mets played in the first game of the season. You won't even remember as a Mets fan. I'm watching Altuve in left field. I'm trying to remember the name of Minute Maid Park, which is not Minute Maid Park. It's not Enron Field. I think it may be Daikin Beach Park or Daikin Insurance Park. Altuve takes the field. Lindor is at the plate. Season is starting, and he doesn't get on base. And then, of course, feelings come rushing through me that Francisco Lindor never has a good April and May. And that for the amount of money that Francisco Lindor is being paid, how can he not get off to better starts? How can he not change the way he approaches spring training and then the start of the season? And then I realize that that's total poppycock. Every season that has preceded this one for Lindor, as a Met, as a Guardian, has zero relation to this season. I've spoken to players about this very concept, about being ready for the season, or pitchers who give up runs in the first inning and we pretend, please pitch an inning in the bullpen. So when you come start the game, it's like the second inning. We've tried sports psychologists. We've tried analytics. We've tried everything we can think of in order to stop something from happening that we perceive feels like it happens all the time. Then Lindor has an 0-for-4 game to start the season, and Mets fans everywhere are saying, here we go again, Whitesnake. It's another bad March and April. One game. Soto gets on base 3 times. He has an opportunity against Josh Hader, who is on the ropes, the way closers are on the ropes consistently throughout a season. We saw it in so many games yesterday where a closer comes in, struggles, can't find the feel, throws balls, walks, men on base, and then when it counts, dialed in and gets the out. Could Soto have been a hero last night in his first game as a Met and not had anything other than a game-winning go-ahead home run in the top of the 9th? Well, that would have been storybook. It's you who traffic in that. Executives traffic in what's real. We traffic in what is probable. The probability was that Josh Hader was going to get Juan Soto out. But of course you don't feel that way as a Mets fan. And then when it happens, it like confirms your feelings. The real focus that you should have as a Mets fan is not Lindor being cold in March and April or Juan Soto not getting on base and getting a hit in the ninth inning. How about focusing on Clay Holmes? How about focusing on the fact that you're counting on Clay Holmes to be a top of the rotation guy for you? And don't get me wrong, a guy can go under 5 innings these days and feel as though he's one of the best starters out there. Except that can't be how we measure starters. You have to be David Stearns and Stephen Cohn and look at Clay Holmes and say, this is not my ride or die in October. This can't be my ride or die in a game 1 or a game 2 or a game 3 in October, maybe a game 4 in a 7-game series. So for Mets fans, you've got some issues, but it's not Soto and it's not Lindor. Speaking of 5 and dive, that's pejorative. That's an insult. We're not looking for pitchers who are 5 and dives, except everywhere I look, that's all we have. The best pitching matchup of the day was in Miami with Paul Skeens going against Sandy Alcantara. And yeah, it was good. Skeens gave you 5 1/3, 94 pitches. That's not an ace. We talked about it on the show yesterday when we said that if Paul Skeens wants to be the face of baseball, he wants to take care of everything off the field, on the field, wants to be the leader. You can't go 5 1/3 and 94 pitches. I'm not going to extrapolate over a full season because then I'd be doing what I told you not to do about 3 minutes ago. But what I'm going to tell you is Paul Skeens, above average stuff. Except if you have to use a underwhelming bullpen every time because your pitcher's 5ing and diving, then what's the use? And we saw it with the Marlins too. Sandy Alcantara in front of 31,000 rabid fans of baseball in South Florida. Looked great. Didn't go 5 innings. The Marlins bullpen giving it up and then settling in, and the Marlins end up walking it off, which is amazing. So now we can all say that the Marlins will go 162-0. What I say as a former team president is how great it is to win opening day. And now I know we won't suffer a 4-game sweep against the same team. We had a 4-game sweep again last year. So, hey, things may be better. And then, of course, we have to play today. And as I'm watching the Marlins game and Paul Skeens and Sandy, I was thinking to myself, the way that teams are scouting Sandy is health. They're not scouting length. And it used to be we scouted length. But what teams are trying to see with Sandy is, where does he stand coming off Tommy John? How does he feel? How does he look? Sandy looks like a workhorse pitcher that can get you 200 innings, which he won't this year. Sandy looks like a workhorse pitcher that can be a very valuable asset to a team in October, which the Marlins won't be. So for all Marlins fans or baseball fans thinking that Sandy won't be traded, he will be traded, guaranteed. It is absolute team malpractice if the Marlins don't trade Sandy. It's a matter of when, not if. And the when is the tricky part. And that's when we as executives are talking to our trainers. We're talking to our therapist. We're talking to the manager, the pitching coach, the bullpen coach. We're looking for any sign that there could be declining performance coming forward or any sort of injury or possible tweak of a something. Because we're trying to maximize the value of the player, maximize the value of the asset. Does that mean you keep Sandy and start him through July, through June? When we know we have a player to move, we start the process the minute the calendar turns to the second M, May 1, March being the first M. The second M means that you are not so close to the summer deadline of July 31st that you still have May, June, July, August, September, 5/6 of the season to go because you pay the players over 6 equal installments. And so the possibility of saving 2/3 of his salary if you can get him traded by the end of May, and the acquiring team can take Sandy, try to go on a run until July 31st. If they're not successful, then they can move him again. So I love the idea of making a player available early, or conversely, when I feel like we're in it and we have a chance for October, to add early, because then you can add and then subtract if it doesn't work out. So the way you're looking at Sandy Alcantara yesterday and Paul Skeens is, well, that's a matchup of aces, only one of whom is going to be pitching for a team in October, and that one happened to be a Marlin. Please don't believe players when they tell you that they have a deadline. I'm begging you, because I've never seen it. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. said that he won't negotiate past his reporting date. That wasn't true. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays have been negotiating ever since. Then it was, we have to have a deal by opening day. Well, opening day happened yesterday, and the Blue Jays got absolutely spanked by, again, an ineffective Berrios, who is like over 11 ERA in opening day starts, but he keeps getting the ball. People may not realize how good the Orioles are unless you listen to the show. The Orioles have great offense. Their starting pitching is questionable. Their bullpen is fortified and fantastic, and they simply crushed the Blue Jays. But the story of that game for me was Guerrero. The fact is, and there was a record in that game, which I'll get to in a minute, but the fact is that Guerrero acknowledged that he was negotiating after he said he wouldn't, and then the team had to come out and say, yes, through a leak, there was another offer made. But now that opening day has come and gone, do you think that means that the Blue Jays and Guerrero won't talk? You talk to your pending free agents all year long. It's absolutely ridiculous that anyone would try to convince you, the audience, that, or the fan, that once the opening day starts, here's the line: we are solely focused on being the best we can be this year without distraction. The player says, it's all about my team and my teammates. It's all about this city. In real life, we're in the clubhouse, we're in the food room, we're with the agent, we're talking all throughout the year, constantly, consistently. But we don't want you to think that we are, because then when we do a deal and announce it, whether it's during the season or before free agency for Vlad, or the first day after free agency, or the first day before spring training next season, doesn't matter. We want you to take that signing, take that retaining of our own player as this amazing thing that you didn't expect. That, oh, we tried so hard and you thought we'd fail, but look, we succeeded. It makes me laugh, Coca. How does that end? It ends the way I told you it'll end. Guerrero's not going to agree to a contract with the Blue Jays unless they overpay to a point that Mark Shapiro has never been apt to do, because it's stupid. It hurts your team. The only way Guerrero signs right now and doesn't test the free agent market is if the Toronto Blue Jays are irresponsible, and they're not, which means Vladimir Guerrero's not going to sign a contract. I was interested in that game because I wanted to watch Tyler O'Neill. He's the new Oriole, and he signed that deal, and people said it's not enough. And you may be right, but on opening day, you're wrong. Tyler O'Neill is a player, Coca, who has hit a home run 5 straight opening days, which is a major league record. It's insane. And then yesterday, he hit another one. This guy's hit a home run in 6 straight opening days. Just would like to give some props to him. I have no great level of analysis other than to say sometimes weird things happen with players, and then it builds on itself. The year Don Mattingly hit all those grand slams and didn't the rest of his career. The way you can have a player out of nowhere who's not a contact guy have a really long hitting streak. Love you, Danny Ugla. The way that you can have a pitcher or a bullpen arm who you evaluate as mediocre, but all of a sudden has this sort of season that is just hard to explain, hard to capture, except he's lights out. And then you've got the other guy stupid enough to sign him to a long-term deal, and he reverts to what he was, which was an average, ordinary bullpen guy. Hard to explain these things in baseball. They just happen. But the thing about them just happening to me is I had this is funny, Coca. I had a guy named PJ Loyello. You've heard the name. He ran broadcasting communications. He was my consigliere, my PR guy, my right hand. And during games, because he would go to every game I would go to, and we went to every game, every home game plus, let's say, 60 out of 82 road games. And he would say to me when I would ask, hey, have you ever seen that before? When something would happen in the game. And he would say, I haven't, but I promise you it's happened. There is nothing that happens during the course of a game that hasn't happened before, no matter how you feel. Now, without talking in absolutes, it makes me smile when I'm watching what the Yankees and Brewers are doing. And I'm watching the season start. I'm watching the top of the first because I want to watch Yelich, who is hitting second for the Brew Crew. I'm watching Churio on his way to 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. Not exactly how you want to start a season, but don't panic. I promise you. Side note, you know what, Coca? I need this for myself. I like winning. Can I do an official wait to see here, please, Coca? And you can book this. Wait to see when I tell you something's going to happen. If it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. Wait to see. Jackson Churio will not have another game this year where he is 0 for 5 with 5 Ks. I mean, that's the easiest way to see of all time. Coca may not even put it in the document on davidsamsonpodcast.com because it's so ridiculous. But anyway, the top of the first happens, and up comes Austin Wells leading off as catcher for the Yankees in the bottom of the first. You got Freddie Peralta. He's got like 12 different pitches. He's hard to hit. The best thing you can do is snipe him. Snipe him means you're sitting on one pitch, and that's it. You don't worry about his whole arsenal. You are solely focused on the seams of the one pitch you're looking for. Austin Wells dialed in, fully loaded, back leg, swings, connects. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, did this guy just go deep to lead off the Yankee season? And it barely made it over the wall, but it was a home run. It's not a home run in any other park but Yankee Stadium. But again, I don't care about that. It was a home run. So I'm going about my day. I'm watching the game, and all of a sudden, there's a stat that comes across my eyes that Austin Wells became the first catcher in the history of baseball to hit a leadoff home run on opening day. Now, you may say to yourself, well, not many catchers lead off, and I'd say you're sort of right. And you may say to yourself, not many games start off with a leadoff home run, and I would say, oh, you're right. And then I would say, but still, you're telling me in all of Major League Baseball, all the games never happened? How cool is that? Well, it never happened. The good news is that I was able to watch it. That game was on ESPN. Started at 3 o'clock. There was a 1-hour stretch yesterday where you had one game to watch, ESPN, however you get ESPN. You had Joe Buck in the booth with my good friend Joe Girardi, Bill Schroeder, a nice ode to Bob Uecker. I'm feeling so good. I know that I'm going to go because occupational hazard. At about 4:03, I want to check out the opening ceremonies at Marlins Park because, of course, I have an ego. I want to make sure they're not as good as mine, except mine were not always received well. I want to see whether it's sold out, not sold out. I want to see how the ballpark looks. I want to look at that dang cruise ship that's in center field instead of my home run sculpture. I go. Remember, I'm 57 years old, folks. No hair dye, no hair plants, but God, some crow's feet that would make any bird jealous. I go to turn it on, nothing. So, of course, I think to myself, user error, because my producer and friend Matthew Coca pretty much has that as the default mechanism. The default reason for anything not going right for me from a technology standpoint is that it's user error. Now, forget the fact that he's 99.9% right about Trident Gum. The fact is that usually it is user error. So I do all of the fixes that I've been learned to fix. I restart the app, then I restart the app on the TV, then I restart the app on my phone, and I keep getting errors. And I keep assuming it's me until I said, hold on. Is MLB having an outage on the app? Is MLB streaming not working on opening day, the most important day of the year for the streaming app to work? That it can't be. So I go on X and I type in MLB streaming app not working, and I get flooded with tweets of people going crazy that it's not working. My first feeling, which is so terrible to admit, but so true, my first feeling was happiness. Happiness, because it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. Then I felt angst. The angst of baseball is going to look so bad here. People are going to latch on to the fact, what kind of crappy technology? What's wrong with the back office? The commissioner stinks. What's going on? And of course, it happened that way. But why? Why is it when a site crashes, which this site did, that we don't give the sites the benefit of the doubt? Is it because of Mark Zuckerberg in Facebook, the social network, where Jesse Eisenberg says that's the difference between us and everyone else? We don't crash. Really? Don't we realize in the world we're in now, where we're so dependent on streaming and technology and Wi-Fi, that we go crazy when things don't work? I had friends at Marlins Park texting me, the Wi-Fi's out. Well, it happens. I'm not defending what happened. I'm explaining. The timing stinks. The real thing you do when you are the commissioner and this happens is you have to get word out to the media, to your fans, what happened. And what happened is there was an interruption in streaming, and MLB app, MLB TV didn't work. It happened to Reddit yesterday. It happened to X yesterday. It happened to baseball yesterday, all around the same time, like the 3 to 4 o'clock hour. Are they related? Who knows? Is it some sort of strange hack? Who knows? The only thing I can control is my reaction to it. And that's really the only thing you should be controlling, is your reaction. If you're using it as confirmation bias to assure yourself that you're right in how you view executives and rich owners and the commissioner, then you're going to be right every time. But if you're able to look through the lens of, wow, what just terrible, unfortunate timing. A, I think that you'll stop peptic ulcers. B, I think you'll have a little more opportunity and room for feeling. Irony, of course, of me telling you this. Of course, the app ended up working again, and I was fine, and the world continued spinning, and it was just a minor impediment, a temporary annoyance on the way to pleasure. Who doesn't have that? What world is it where you could have immediate pleasure all the time? There's always pain before the pleasure. Do you feel the pain in New York right now? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Are you excited about the Yankees season? Going to the ballpark, hanging out in the Bronx, finding a way to get cheap tickets or free tickets, finding a way to watch your team play to see if they can build on their last year's appearance in the World Series? Are you upset with the fight that the Yankees and Comcast are in, which would indicate that Comcast is not going to carry the Yes Network, which would mean that you're hi, my name is David Samson. It's Friday at 8:23 a.m. or 10:23 if you're watching on DraftKings. All right, I'm good. Are you concerned that the Yes Network and Comcast will not have a deal in time for you to watch your game? The first Yes Network game is tomorrow. Comcast and the Yankees are at a stalemate. They've been at a stalemate for a very long time. I'm going to get to the conclusion first and then talk you through it. There has been a short détente that has been agreed to by the Yankees and Comcast. And this détente will allow you to watch your game on Saturday. A détente means that there was a deadline that had passed, after which Yes Network would be taken off Comcast. Comcast and the Yankees kept delaying that deadline, delaying that deadline, delaying that deadline. And they've done it again. They've now delayed it to Monday night. That means that there's people who are going to work all weekend, except it really doesn't take a genius to know why Comcast and Yes Network through the Yankees are having a problem. Because Comcast is being realistic about what Yes Network is, and the Yankees are trying to hold on like fingers on a slipping iceberg to what Yes Network used to be. Yes Network used to be on a basic tier. Yes Network used to be part of what you got with the cable package. Yes Network was getting paid for every subscriber of Comcast. Yes Network was then paying some of that money to the Yankees, keeping the rest, showing a profit, building value. And then Comcast said, I'm sorry, we have a slight problem with our customers. Our customers would very much like to have Yes Network on a tier that is not basic. They would like it to be on a top tier, a higher tier where they pay extra for Yes Network because there's way more people who don't want to pay for it, who don't want it as part of the basic package. And you are asking me to charge all of my customers, A, an amount too much, and B, too many of them who aren't interested. So, Yankees, our proposal is that we go to this elevated tier. And the Yankees say, no chance, toilet pants. I'm not doing that. Why would you make me? At the end of the day, there's other teams around who haven't had to do that. How do you feel about having to prove your worth? It's way easier when you can trade on the past or trade on the future. The people who are the most successful are those who trade on the now, those who are able to prove their value today, not what it once was and may never will be again, and not what it should be and may never end up occurring. If you can trade to your boss or in your family, wherever you are today, and you can trade on what you do and say and think now, you're always going to have the advantage. Always. And the reality is that now, Yes Network is in a totally different position because Comcast is in a totally different position. There have been carriage battles galore that we cover, whether it's on the Sporting Class or on Nothing Personal. And we call it a carriage battle. We call it a stalemate. We call it a situation where a cable company says to a regional network, we cannot pay you what we used to pay you. And the regional network says, we need you to pay us what you've paid us because otherwise our revenue will go down, but our expenses can't because we have long-term deals with players. But these carriage disputes have been going on since the beginning of time. They're the same thing as a dispute you have with your boss when you view yourself as worth X and the boss views you as worth X minus Y and will only pay you the lesser amount. You then start dancing for your dinner. And when you dance for your dinner as an employee, you'd be best served to dance about what you're eating today with a sprinkling of what you ate tomorrow. Too many employees think, too many companies think, let's bury them with the results of the past. Let's show how great I was last year, and that will set the tone for the power and the pleasure that I get this year in my job. But as an employer, as someone who's doing budgets, I'm not at all interested in the past. You don't have to sell me on what you did last year because if you didn't do your job, I'd fire you. And if you did do your job well, you likely got bonus. But either way, the S is C. The slate is clean. You're starting over. This carriage dispute is a problem. You've got political intervention with the governor of New York. This could go all the way up to the president of the United States. Who knows what involvement the president would want to or think he can or should have, or what power he would have to have settlements. It's always my favorite. Learned this on the West Wing with Martin Sheen. There's only one thing I know. You can't have air traffic controllers strike on Christmas. Well, that's true. But man, oh man, you're giving some kind of leverage to the other side, aren't you? The leverage that exists between Comcast and Yes Network, who do you think has it? It's Comcast all the way around. And at some point, the Yankees are going to realize that. They haven't, and I don't blame them for that because I was on that side also. Think about this. If you are a YouTube TV subscriber, you've never even gotten Yes Network. You've never had the opportunity to watch the Yankees play. YouTube TV drops SNY, where the Mets play, back in June of 2023. So if you are a YouTube TV person, as an example, you're not getting Yes Network, you're not getting SNY, you're thinking to yourself, this doesn't seem fair because I can't even watch my team if I live in New York on the MLB app because I'm blacked out. Why does YouTube TV say we don't need Yes Network or SNY or any of the regional sports networks? Because people who have YouTube TV don't give a tinker's damn. MLB, NHL, NBA, they're there for the myriad other things that YouTube TV provides. Because frankly, if you have YouTube TV and you don't get the Mets and you're a big Mets fan and you don't agree to do something to get them, then are you actually a Mets fan? It's okay that there's different ways to get a piece of content that you want. It's up to you to decide how much you'll pay for a piece of content, for a block of entertainment. But the days of asking other people to pay for your entertainment, those days are over. All right, Coca, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to review a movie and then we're going to talk about, we're going to get to some NBA stuff because there's no way I can end the week without talking to you about what Adam Silver said yesterday. We'll talk about all that after the break. Whether you call it soccer, football, or something else, you can take a shot to win cash with Heineken and DraftKings while watching the world's most popular sport. Make predictions on some of the biggest matches of the year and compete for $5,000 a contest in 15 free pools. Heineken is a lager for any league, and you'll enjoy action from the first to the last. Must be 21 plus to enter. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com/Heineken for details. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's Friday, the 28th of March. Thank you for being with us and for spreading the word about what we do every single day, no matter how late at night we're up doing shows. Shout out to Coca for what he did with Dan Lebatard last night and Jamel Hill and Amin Al Hassan doing an extra 2-hour show for fans of Dan. Nick Wright joined. Jay was there talking about the Sweet 16. That was fun, Coca, right? You enjoy that. Except then the morning comes, and then the morning comes. And then you and I are sitting here doing a show wondering, God, those bags are big under your eyes. No matter how many shows we do, and yesterday we did a lot, opening day, we are wanted, Coca, from Lake Michigan all the way to the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I watched a movie in the 24-hour period. Now, I grant you, it may have happened while there were no crows singing or roosters chirping, but I did get a chance to watch Last Breath. I was breathing totally fine. My pulse was fine. Last Breath is a movie and a documentary. I watched the movie with Woody Harrelson. It's a movie about a job that I never knew existed. And I don't mind being vulnerable to you all. I really don't. I didn't realize that there are people. I understand there's pipes under the ocean, sort of. I understand they're pumping oil, I guess. Don't really think about when I'm putting gas in my car or when I'm turning on the stove or getting warmth by the fire. And I guess I never thought about the fact they're on the bottom of the ocean and people have to maintain them. It didn't occur to me that there are divers who go to the bottom of the frickin' ocean, first having to sail into the middle of the ocean, sleeping to a cabin, then go to 1,100 feet to the bottom and use a screw and a wrench and try to make things look good. And then it didn't even occur to me what could happen if you get stuck down there. Well, wouldn't you know that there's someone, true story, who got stuck at the bottom of the ocean, ran out of oxygen, and was there for 29 minutes. Spoiler alert, it's a true story. He didn't croak. It's almost impossible. It's like David Blaine-like. I thought the movie was mediocre. I thought the story was incredible. It's very short, 83 minutes. It's like one episode. It's like the finale of Severance. My takeaway is I don't like being underwater. I'm a swimmer. Love the ocean, love water skiing, love jet skiing, love sailing, love swimming. Don't ever think about shark attacks. Love snorkeling. Not a scuba diver. I learned at a pool in a resort one day. I went down to 10 feet and I said, wow, This seems a little low for my taste. 1,100 feet, forget about it. 500 feet, 29 minutes holding your breath. Somehow the guy's body went into some state of something that allowed him not to die. The movie's about the rescue effort. It doesn't matter that you know that it works at the end. The tension of how they do it, crazy. It's called Last Breath. Coca told me to watch the documentary, but I wanted to watch the movie. Nothing personal pick of the day. Did you watch that Tigers-Dodgers game? What are we doing here? Scuba looks great. He's getting plus 154. Going against Blake Snell and the Dodgers, and the two of them, the best they could do was a 5 and dive. Blake Snell, I want to give length. I want to get into the late innings. Let me check this, Coca. I'm almost positive that Blake Snell in 5 innings had an inordinate number of pitches. Let me just see. But off the top of my head, I'm going to take the over Paul Skeens 94. But let me check. Under 92. That's close. 5 innings, 92 pitches. Scooble, 80 pitches. I'm just throwing it out there just in case anyone's curious. While he did give up that home run to Teoscar, why is your ace and your Cy Young Award winner built up to 80 pitches in 5 innings? Where are we? How many times do I have to talk about this, yet I continue to make the pick thinking that Scuba's going to give me 7 strong, at least? So we lost that pick. Luckily, we had Garrett Crochet. We told you the Red Sox would win. Now I know what you're going to say. Crochet was a no decision, but he did pitch well. And I know what you're going to say is beating the Rangers 5-2, whoopity-doo. The Rangers are good. I know that you're going to say a win's a win, and I'm going to say, damn Skippy. We are 1-1. In baseball season, we're 2-2. But of course, that doesn't count. We're actually 25-35. 25-35. Outrageous. All right, let me give you my picks for the weekend because I'm watching baseball all weekend. Plans be darned. Tonight, we got the Braves with a chance to even their series and stop their losing streak. The Braves have lost 1 game in a row. They are despondent beyond repair. They're playing the Padres, who are absolutely doing it for Pete Seidler and the new controlling owner. They are on their way to a historic season with historic revenue because they came back to win yesterday. Anytime you can get the Braves as an underdog, take it. Because if you see a chance, you take it. If you find romance, you make it. Braves plus 105 over the Padres. Saturday, we don't have a line on this yet, but we have a game where the Orioles are playing against the Blue Jays, and Mighty Max is pitching. Do you remember Max Scherzer telling you that every time he's over 50 pitches, his thumb hurts the next day, which is why he doesn't want to throw more than 50 pitches, but yet he's still going to start and maybe throw more than 50 pitches, but then get hurt and then be a $15 million waste? Well, I think you know the Orioles are a really good team. We're taking them money line over the Jays and Max Scherzer. On Sunday, now make sure you get the days right. I don't know that we're going to do Stroman Day the way we're going to do Patrick Corbin Day. May I remind you that Patrick Corbin, that absolute waste of a contract in Washington, became a free agent. And last year we had what was called Corbin Day. We bet against Patrick Corbin every time he took the mound. He's on the Rangers. We're going to do it again if he ever gets a start. We may do it with Marcus Stroman also. Marcus Stroman was forced to pitch in the rotation because of all the injuries the Yankees have, Cole, Heel, Schmidt, etc. The Yankees during their offseason planning did not have any intent on Marcus Stroman starting a game. It would be bullpen, give it up, and then designate. Don't forget that Marcus Stroman has a vesting option where if he pitches more than Coca, 120, 140, when he pitches more than 120 or 140 innings, he vests into a guaranteed deal in 2026. The Yankees will not let him do that. So Stroman Day is the fact that the Yankees, it's really going to be a bullpen day. So on Sunday, we're going to take the Brewers, who are a really good team. We're taking the Brewers over Stroman and the Yankees. I want to get to the NBA now. We talked about when Rob Manfred met the media? Well, it's opening day. It's before the World Series. It's at the end of every owners meeting. There's certain times when commissioners are asked to and do speak to the media. Yesterday was Adam Silver's turn. It was the end of an NBA owners meeting. Not at all a coincidence that it was on opening day. I don't believe anything's a coincidence about opening day. Every sport knows big dates that are going on in other sports. So Adam Silver meets the media, and he had a few things to say that were extremely interesting to me. It's really hard to ever admit you're wrong. It's a great quality to have if you're able to do it, but most people aren't. Most people double down, back themselves into a corner. I don't think there's any doubt that what went on this year at the All-Star game in San Francisco was suboptimal. What I was interested and fascinated to see was how would Adam Silver handle the All-Star game format, given that next year the All-Star game is on NBC. Next year is the first year of that big, huge new media deal. Next year, the All-Star game is on in the afternoon, not at night, because NBC has the Olympics, and the All-Star game on February 15th is during the Olympics. How would Adam Silver handle it? Let me give you a good start. Coca?
We made almost an immeasurable amount of progress. I don't want to, I sitting there, I thought this is a little better, but it was a miss. We're not there. In terms of creating an all-star experience that we can be proud of and that our players can be proud of. People floated, USA World. I'm not sure that makes sense with the level of development, if that's fair to lump all the other countries together these days. Maybe that we can single out there are some different national teams that can compete. But I think at the height of this, it goes back to one of the earlier questions. We sell competition, and I think that our players recognize they're not putting their best foot forward when there's a sense that they're not all in on playing an all-star game. And I take responsibilities too, because we're both a sport and an entertainment brand, and we recalibrated for this year's all-star game in San Francisco around more of an entertainment product, and don't think it worked.
Boy, he came close there, didn't he? Right at the end when he said when the players aren't all in, you can't blame the players. And then he said, no, I'll take responsibility. Just one thing for you as a speech issue. Don't use the words immeasurable and progress together, because all progress is measurable unless it's to infinity. And I've never seen a situation where that's the case. I'm able to measure progress. I can choose what my variable is. Do I choose it by revenue, by ratings, by number of tweets, by engagement? All I have to do is pick a way to measure and then measure. When people say that progress is immeasurable, it means they haven't chosen a unit by which to measure it, because they're too scared the units will turn out to be ones that show no progress at all. So you'd be better served not to ever use the words immeasurable and progress together. But what we learned from that sound and that message from Adam Silver is that they're going to change the All-Star game again, obviously. I have no problem with that. I want to talk about how it works, because you have to involve your union. You have to workshop the idea. Then you have to implement the idea. Once you receive permission to do the idea, then you have to have honest discourse once the idea is done, whether or not it was an idea that helped move the ball, or an idea that was neutral, or an idea that when implemented actually hurt your business. I don't think there's an argument that the All-Star game hurt the NBA business this year. It is true there was no need for that huge, long tribute inside the NBA. There was no need for all these breaks between the games. There was no need for the 4 different teams and the draft and how they did it. But they tried it, and it didn't work. And the thing is, they didn't need to wait for the ratings. They didn't need to wait for NBC to tell them they weren't happy. They didn't need to wait to hear what Kevin Durant or Steph Curry or LeBron James said about it. You know when something doesn't work, and what separates you from being great and being ordinary or being bad is the ability to actually tell yourself the truth about what you see and what you hear and what you feel, and to trust it. No one watched the All-Star weekend and could have left that saying, nailed it. We're going to do this again. Everything requires tweaking. We're tweaking this show. We've got basic pillars of the show, from word of the day to a pick of the day to a movie review to wait to sees, but we're tweaking how we think about things, how we decide what I want to talk about and we want to talk about. Always be changing, always be closing. Adam Silver is going to work with the union. He's going to work with NBC. The only thing that is guaranteed is that what Adam said is true. There will be a format change. When he said it likely won't be USA versus the world, I actually disagree. I think next year is the perfect time for it to be USA, a team of players from the USA versus a team of players and all-stars not from the USA. The problem is it used to be, can you fill up an all-star team with non-USA players? Yeah, you can. Can you fill up an all-star game with USA players? Yes, you can. Working in partnership with NBC, who has invested a ton of money on the international competition, it would be the perfect all-star game. So perfect, Coca, that I'm going to make you change your font on Wait to Sees because I'm adding a second one to this show on the final Friday of March. And the second Wait to See is the All-Star game next year will be some sort of U.S. versus international players. Wait to see. He then talked about expansion. I really liked this conversation about expansion because he wants to expand. He wants to get to 2 extra teams, one in Seattle, one in Vegas. And he made sure to tell all of us the following.
To assess value in a way that's both fair even to a potential owner and fair to the existing owners in terms of what it means to add additional partners, different cities, divide up, our current media pie with, the 31st or 32nd share. And also we want to make sure we put teams in a position, particularly as we're setting the price, to be in a position to be competitive, economically successful, and just as importantly for the other teams, successful on the floor. And the issue I would not have anticipated at the time I sort of began talking about the timeline is how much unknown there is about local media right now.
Here's what he didn't anticipate, folks. It has nothing to do with local media. What he didn't anticipate is the Celtics would be sold for $7.3 billion. And that now the other owners are saying, wow, if a franchise is $7.3 billion and we're a part of this league, then we better get about a couple $3-4 billion for expansion. In which case Adam Silver has to say, but wait a second. We have to find a group that'll just pay $4 billion for the right to spend another several billion on a arena plus land plus players plus infrastructure to get the team off the ground. How are we going to find that without really using private equity in a way that we're not comfortable using? But yet we've got to keep franchise valuations up. Do you think LeBron and Shaq were saying, my God, if you think that we can afford a couple $1 billion expansion fee, you got to be crazy. So Adam Silver needs you to understand that, yes, expansion matters. And we've held off at the moment because I don't have the votes. And the reason I don't have the votes is that there is such a disparity in values of teams. Remember, the Timberwolves just sold for $1.5 billion, the Mavericks for 1.7, and now you've got the Celtics up at 7.5. Of course, every team is worth more. You want teams to sell for more than people thought. You want the bottom teams to keep selling for more so the floor increases. But you can't imagine that an expansion fee can be less than what the value of a franchise would be on day one. That makes no sense. And the math is really super clear. When Adam Silver says the problem with expansion right now is we have to split the pie 32 ways and not 30 ways, that's the purpose of an expansion fee. It's to make the existing owners whole in current day dollars, because going forward into the future, they're going to get a smaller piece of nationally produced revenues. So it really becomes just a math equation. So for Adam Silver to try to convince everybody, hey, listen, we're going to put the brakes here because we're trying to get through the Celtics transaction. We're still digesting the Celtics transaction. Of course, the Celtics transaction is related to expansion, and we're just going to analyze it. Well, Adam, you've got really great lawyers around you, and you absolutely can model what it is to have a team worth $7 billion or $6 billion and model what that would mean for expansion fees. You don't need to study and analyze the transaction, the form of the transaction. All you're doing is talking about money and how to get votes and figure out whether you have the votes. Wouldn't it have been better if Adam Silver had just gotten up there and said, "Do you see that Celtics transaction? $7.3 billion. It's just business." Have a great weekend. This is nothing personal.